This is going to be a really quick video. I'm getting ready for Baltimore Comic Con, which is this weekend. So I've got a lot of comics that I need to write and draw ahead of time so they update on Monday because that's what responsible cartoonists do. But I've also got some inventory to go through and things to pack up. Next week, I want to do a proper tokusatsu time video, probably talking about henshin devices, what they are, the different types they come in, and why they're so awesome, mostly because they can sell toys. But for today, I wanted to talk about one of the many complaints, or address one of the many complaints that people have come up to me after they've seen Pacific Rim. Oh, this is going to be spoilery. So if you haven't seen the movie, go out now. It's in a handful of theaters. You might find it at like one of the cheaper theaters or at a weird time. But I've seen it places, so you should go see it now. So after seeing the film, people come up to me and say, "Yeah, I liked it, but why didn't they use sword if it was so effective right from the beginning?" And it's sort of like the eternal question whenever you watch a tokusatsu thing, like, why don't they bring out the giant robot in the first place? Why don't they use their finishing technique from the beginning and end the fight in like 30 seconds instead of drawing it out for an episode and a half? And I've been thinking a lot about this because I'm a nerd and I love this movie so much, and I've come up with uh, some ideas, a theory about it, and why it makes internal sense to the film. Why sword was the last thing that they used on Otachi instead of the first thing. So, from what we've seen in the film, Gypsy Danger 1.0 has plasma cannon, but it doesn't have sword, at least as far as we can tell, because we never see Raleigh and his brother use sword on that first kaiju that they fight. So sword is an addition that Mako Mori comes up with when she's redesigning Gypsy Danger and resurrecting her from her broken state. So then the question is, well, okay, yeah, well, if Mako Mori created sword, then clearly Raleigh should have known about sword when they were in the drift. And I kind of look at the drift as having access to a large library because we all have stories and volumes of stuff going in our heads. So you get access to this gigantic library. When you go to a library, do you read all the books at the same time, all at once? No, because you're human and you're not some freaking reading psychic person who can just absorb words by looking at them. You read a book one at a time. And I figure that's what the drift is. You have access to all the memories, of course, but you can only pull out a couple at a time. And even then, when they train to go into the drift, they're told, and this is from things that I've gathered from the movie, so this might not be canon, but this is the way I think of it. You're told to go in with a blank slate. It's the ultimate Zen thing. Don't think about the past. Don't think about the future. Be in the now. Be fully present in what you are doing. Be completely Zen. Um, don't follow the rabbit. And you see what happens when Raleigh gets distracted and he's thinking about his brother. It knocks the drift all out of whack, and Mako ends up focusing on her first encounter with the kaiju, and that's the memory that Raleigh sees. So I figure when you're in the drift and you are reading your partner, if you're going to learn anything about them, if you're going to open any of the books, you want to open the books about technique and fighting and sync with those things like movement and tactics and things like that. And sword isn't necessarily in that memory space because sword is in the experimental development phase of Mako Mori's brain. It's in the design area. She's not thinking about design when she's fighting a kaiju. She's thinking about kicking the kaiju's ass. So those are the thoughts that are going to be foremost in front of her head. Also, sword harkens back to her family history because apparently from the novelization, Mako Mori's family, Mako Mori comes from a family of sword makers. So sword is either in her past or in the designy part of her brain, which is not present when she's kicking the shit out of kaiju. So when it comes to the weapons that you would, oh, the other thing is that sword is untested. Plasma cannon is tested, so they use plasma cannon as soon as they can. Plasma cannon takes a little bit of time to load up. But if you're gonna go with a weapon that takes a while to load, and you've never tested it before, you're gonna go with your range weapon, and you're gonna go with a thing that you've known that works. So you start with plasma cannon. Um, and it's only until they've run out of all their range weapon, half of their arm, that Mako remembers, hey, I've got this sword, let's try it out. And it works beautifully. And you see in the next fight that they go into under the water, right by the rift, sword is like the first thing they pull out, and it just cleaves the kaiju in half. It's amazing. It's awesome. So that is my theory on why it makes internal continuity, movie continuity sense. That sword is the last result, and hopefully that makes sense to you. If you'd like to argue the point, please, leave me a comment, or a response video or anything like that. I think it works. It was satisfying enough for me to say, okay, this is how it works. But if you've got a different theory on why sword is the last thing they use, please let me know. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll check you next week when I'll have a less rambly video, I hope. All right. Good night. Bye.